BeastNet is brought to you by James Safety Services in partnership with OCR Buddy and OCR Strong. Here we discuss all things OCR and fitness related. Welcome to BeastNet.
Here we are. How are you?
Um, Getting into the holidays is tough,
Yes.
especially now with my dad going, and it's tough. I listened to your episode. And I forgot the lady's name. Um, you were talking a lot about mental health.
Yeah.
And I was actually, it was funny. I was in the car Monday driving back home from my trifecta weekend in Arizona,
Yes.
and you brought me to tears a couple times. I'll put it that way, um, because the subject of mental health, the subject of and mental health doesn't mean that you're crazy in the head.
No.
Mental health means you have a good, stable mindset. You adopt a growth mindset. You're loving yourself. You're taking care of yourself, etc. Um, I'll be bluntly honest. I've been racing the last 3 weeks straight,
Yeah. I
and
know.
I was in San Luis Obispo for uh, all three races, and then I was in Boston. Took a red eye to Boston. That was tough. Got to
I
Boston,
bet.
no sleep. Got in the rental car, drove to Fenway, ran the race, drove to Joe DeSantis farm up in Vermont. Went, there's nothing really here. Snap, snap, snap. Picture in front of the sign. Gonna leave now. No sleep. Got back to the hotel outside of Fenway. Finally went to bed. Before I went to bed, decided, you know what? I'm here. I'm going to register for tomorrow. Ran the race again on Sunday, like a crazy person. And Fenway, if you've ever, for the listeners out there, if you've never been to one of these iconic stadiums, Fenway is just off the hook cool. Um,
That's what I've heard.
Fenway was, I mean, you walk through the doors and it's like, it was just like these are the hallways that Babe Ruth and Ted Williams and all these guys walked down. Um, and then got that done, flew home, hopped on a bird Friday, flew to Arizona for two. Actually, I only did two races. I did the super, the beast, and the super because I
Mhm.
already had a sprint. I already had two sprints I could use to make up my 6X trifecta. Uh,
Yeah.
so as soon as I was done with that, I'm talking to my friend Jasmine, and I'm like, yeah, sister, I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna sit this one out. And normally I would have just been, screw it, I'm just gonna go do it. But I said, I got to sit this one out. You go ahead and finish it. And well, you won't get the trifecta weekend medal. I'm like, I got my 6X medal. I don't care. Um, but I look back on it now, even being home for what is today, Wednesday, a couple of days, and it's like, why did I go do that? Why did
Yeah.
I decide to hit back to back 3 weekends of racing? And part of it is so I don't have to concentrate on the holidays. My dad's birthday is coming up next. What would have been his birthday is coming up next week, so I don't have to focus on that because I'm just racing. And
No.
I have an uncle who's got cancer now, and he's fighting it, which is great. And it's my dad's brother, and just all these things pile up, and it's like, you know what? I just got to have something to go race. I got to go have a goal. I got to go race. I just need to go. I can't hop on the bike right now and ride, a couple hundred miles. I need to just go race and just go do that.
Yeah.
And I know I'm planning out my calendar for 2024 and making dang sure I don't have 3 weekends back to back because that crap is tough. That sucks. As
It,
much
it
as I
can be, and I've done it. It
you've done
can
it,
be, but sometimes it's one of those. It helps you get out of your own head.
and that's basically what I've been doing the last 3 weeks is I just need something to go not focus on all the negative, go focus on something positive. And I know that when I go to Boston next year, I'm definitely going to come in a day earlier and get some sleep before the stupid race. Um, but
I can see that.
that sucked. That was I get on the first base or third baseline as we're coming out of the dugout, of the opposing team's dugout. And the photographer just sees me doing this, going, I'm at Fenway. And jaw dropped, and 5-year-old kid in a candy store.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, it was a good experience. I know there's some, like, my ankles were just, I was wearing different ankle sleeves instead of my braces, and my ankles were just on fire, and that kind of sucked. But met some cool people at San Luis Obispo. Side note, I got to LAX and I rented a car from a company called SIXT. I don't know how you say that, but I get over there and they got kind of the hip, like lights and neon and everything, establishment. And I said, hey, if it was just my birthday. If you want to put a brother into a, upgraded car, I'm down. And the guy behind the counter was like, yeah, I like you. Yeah, I can do that. Turns the screen around, put me into a brand new BMW 330i. And I'm like,
Nice.
what? I say, he goes, yeah, you'd be the second driver. I'm like, what? It's like, I'm not good looking enough to even remotely try to drive that rig. So, but got into it, and I said, it's going to a Spartan race, right? Well, what's that? Got to explain it. And I think I had the hottest car in the entire place, because I just roll up and I'm like, wow, big money. Yeah. But anyway, it made me feel really good. Um, but uh, the SLO race was really humbling, and shout out to Woody Peters from Spartan, because he was the course manager on that. And we get to a point where my body's just like, no more uphill, no more uphill. I'm done with uphills. I'm tired. And on the beast, we get to this one uphill, and it starts to plateau. And again, you try to get out of your own head, so you're not trying to, like, concentrate on the negative. And we get to this, like, just, I mean, we're talking 70-degree angle downhill. And I'm like, okay. And if you, even the people that were elites that, they're just V-cut and stud muffins, they even had problem with it. And
It happens.
I just sat on my tail and slid. And I saw a lady actually get hurt. Um, and I saw a lady fall off beater and I guess bust her head open. And it
Oh,
was, yeah, her team was rallied around her, which was good. But it was kind of a humbling thing of, as sometimes as bad as you think you got, it can always be worse.
yes.
Something else worse can happen. So, take up your weight that you're hauling around with you, and keep going. And it and I, definitely pray for the lady on the hill and pray for the lady who got hurt off beater. Um, but it's why I love doing these kind of things, because you get, like you said, you get out of your head, and you get moments of clarity that you wouldn't necessarily get otherwise. Um,
Hmm.
and you can think a little better and be like, okay, life ain't so bad, things aren't so bad. We're putting ourselves through this mental torture and physical torture, but we're gonna come outside the other side of it better. There we go. Um, and I some stuff like the holidays, just it always has broken me. It always has been very tough for me. Um, when I was a kid, I'm not trying to diss my dad or anything, but my dad would go spend time with his girlfriend, or somebody he was seeing or whatever,
Hmm.
and leave me at home. And it's like, and if I didn't have friends in my life that came and got me, and you know brought me into their families, I probably would have stayed home for all the holidays. So
Yeah.
it gets to be a lonely time, and especially being the age that I am and not married yet.
Yeah.
um a lot of folks, and they're not meaning, they're not they're not being malicious about it, but it's, oh, look at my family, look at me and my family. Oh, you don't have one? Oh. And that gets tough. And it's, again, they're not being malicious and jerks and making fun of me or anything, but that does get a little tough. So,
I can
you
see that.
know what's that?
No, I said I could see that.
Yeah. And so I go look for, now that I race, like, hey, is there a couple of races I could do on that time? Is there, Is there a way I can, so tomorrow I'll go be with my adopted family at church during the afternoon, but tomorrow morning I'll probably have my rucksack on and go do a 5K, and then hit the gym before anything, just to get out of my own head for a while. Um,
which is good. I mean, sometimes you have to. I mean, you've got to get out of your head. Um, because that's the hardest part. And it's one of those things that we talk about, that the mental health issues,
mhm.
people don't realize sometimes that, I mean, sometimes those mental health issues, the only way for us to deal with them sometimes is to go do some of the stuff we do. Somebody will know this, some don't. Which by this time, any of the listeners, I mean, whatever, my sister-in-law is going to get mad at me for this,
Oh,
but she doesn't listen to this, so I don't care. My brother died last week.
oh
So
man,
my oldest brother died last week
I'm sorry.
from cancer. It's a weird situation because I'll be honest, I've seen him twice in 25 years.
Still your brother
He
though, but yeah.
lived in Missouri. Like my wife's met him twice. I think my kids may have met him once in their entire lives. So I mean, he wasn't a huge part of my life, but he was still my brother.
Yeah.
Um, so I have been quiet about it. I mean, the only thing I posted, I mean, I'm sure you saw the post on Facebook where I just said fuck cancer, and that was it. That was like the only thing I said about it. I haven't posted it. I haven't said anything just because, out of respect to my family.
Right.
But it hits weird. And it becomes one of those mental health issues where I've been battling back and forth in my own brain of, should I be more upset about this? Why am I not more upset about this? Why am I not, you know, bawling my eyes out? Why am I not doing this? And I think it's people deal with things differently. And I think that's the hardest part that people have, where like me, I've hit, I've been hitting the gym every day. Last week I hit it 4 days. This week I hit it 3 so far. And I mean, it's only Wednesday,
Mhm.
and been swimming
Yeah.
because I signed up for an Ironman. And so I'm like, okay, I got to go. So I've been swimming 1,000 meters every day. I go there, swim 1,000 meters, and then at my lunch break from work, and then go back to work.
Okay.
So that's my way of dealing with it. When Sunday or Saturday, right after I heard, I basically hopped on the bike and rode the bike for a
Yeah.
while. Did a ruck on Saturday with the U Rock group, which, by the way, anybody, if you guys don't have the ruck straps, go freaking buy
Yes. Yes.
them.
Absolutely.
I was doing the rock that it's with the U Rock that I've been
Uh-huh.
rocking with here in Houston. They're the ones that made them.
Oh, nice.
So I was sitting
Nice.
there using some. I borrowed some, and then I was like,
Yeah.
"Hey, how much?" He gave me a pair. He's like, "Oh, you can just have them." I'm like, "Those are like $75."
Uh-huh.
So anybody who doesn't have them, those things are amazing, by the
Oh
way.
yeah. Agreed.
Um,
And no,
and then
he's not
Sunday,
sponsored by U-Rock.
yes, this is sponsored by UREC now, but
Yeah, right.
but and then Sunday I went out, and went on a bike ride with my good friend Jamie, who's my I call her my suffer sister up here. I
Mhm.
miss my suffer brother Brian, but Jamie's been doing great. So I went for a bike ride with her, and I mean, it just kind of, that's how I deal with things. I just go out and work out and do
Yep.
what I can to get out of my own head. Because if I just sit and ponder,
Yep.
bad thoughts start to form.
The day
The
my dad died,
negativity.
the day my dad died, my buddy was over, we're at my dad's house. We're trying to get ready to sell to pay off his bills and whatnot, because my dad didn't have like life insurance or anything. He didn't think that far ahead. Not dissing him,
Yeah.
just way he didn't think that far ahead. And over at my dad's house, and I'm trying just to keep my head about me, because I was actually, he aspirated, and then it was on food, and it was just 3 days later, he was gone. Um, but I was there that morning, and I told Dad, I said, if you need me or if you got to go, I'll understand. And
Yeah.
he died that afternoon, which was actually a godsend because he wasn't suffering anymore. But I was on the way back from a place called Quincy, about 30 miles out away from me, getting his funeral arrangements done. So I wasn't even there. Neither was he. He died alone. And they asked me to pull over and said, "Hey, let me guess, my dad just died." I said, "Yeah, he did." Like, okay, thank you. Do you want to come by and see? No, just call the funeral home. We got all that going. Anyway, um, So my buddy shows up, and I'm working on the house, and I'm like, I just got to go to the gym. Well, let's go out to dinner. No, I just have to go to the gym. I have to go to the gym.
Yeah.
And he was like, he's trying to push me to do what he wanted to do because he thought it'd be better for me. And I finally just yelled at him, I have to go to the blankety blank gym. I have to work out. Leave me the hell alone. And I got in the car, I drove away, went to the gym, and told the lady behind the counter, who's a friend of mine, that my dad had just died. She gives me a big hug, and I'm like, yeah, that's not what I need right now, but thank you. Um, and I just worked out for like 3 hours, and I just busted the crap out of myself. And I didn't break down. And then one of my best friends, she comes over, and she doesn't try to hug me or anything. She comes over and kind of smiles at me, and I said, "You know, don't you?" She was actually the first one I texted after Dad had died. I said, "You know, don't you?" She goes, "Yeah, I'm sorry." I mean, thanks for that. I just got to finish this workout, and it was exactly what I needed, was somebody to go, "Hey, I'm sorry," not try to hug me or just let me do my thing. Thank you. And I so much appreciate what she did for me that day. And then we went outside and talked for a bit after workout, and it's just I didn't need to be handheld. I just needed to get what I set out to do. Um, when you were there this day in Portland that year for Spartan Sprint, we had a hurricane heat that
Hmm.
morning. We had the sprint right after that, and you asked Adam, the Cryptea. For those of you that don't know what a Cryptea is, they're the leaders of the hurricane heat. They're the drill sergeants, if you will. I remember we're standing there
Yep.
doing the whole Iron Cross with the boards thing, and couldn't talk. And I remember seeing you guys come by, and you asked Adam if you could go and give me a hug, and I still appreciate that, by the way. Um,
Yeah.
and we're
Didn't even say a
talking
word.
this
Just walked over, gave you a hug, and just
and
I
left. Yep.
knew.
And
Yeah.
it was only a couple days after my dad died that I was there doing that.
Hmm.
And I had friends back here that were like, "What are you gonna break down? You're gonna do you need to, like I just need to go race. I just need to need to go heal. I need to go do this because my dad would want me to do this." So
Hmm.
I remember you hugging me, and I'm standing in that Iron Cross position with the boards out to my side, and I just start tearing up. And Adam looked at me, and he's because nobody's allowed to talk, nobody's allowed to make a noise, but here I am trying not to break down in tears, and he was gracious about it, so I thank him for that. But then I went and finished the hurricane heat, and I told the entire class, I said, about 2 days ago, my dad died, and I had to come here, I had to do this, and the look on their faces, because Adam already knew. The look on their faces was like, "What the hell are you doing here?" Like, well, I needed to come do this. And then I went down to they all came and hugged me, and actually one of the guys there, I guess he owns a hotel in Costa Rica, gave me his contact info. Says, anytime you need to come down, I lost the contact info because it was a piece of paper. Dang it. But um I didn't even change my clothes. I went with the rucksack on and everything, went immediately to the start gate. I remember walking up to the start wall and the volunteer there looking at it and going, "I just did the hurricane heat, get out of my way." And walked around the start wall. And I was talking to the MC Bear. For those of you that have never met Bear, he's a character, but he's an MC
Yes.
for Spartan. And we chatted, and I told him what was up, and he comes around and gives me a hug. He's like, "Brother, I'm so sorry." And he's a veteran himself. And he proceeds to tell everybody, "Hey, it's my brother Dave. His dad just died. He's out here doing this. He just finished up the hurricane heat, and now he's out here doing the sprint." And of course, my other classmates are like, "Yeah, so are we." But but it was good to have that encouragement, and I was able to get it done and go home feeling better than I did. Um, just sitting at home crying. Um, and there are still times, like I had it today where I saw something online. It reminded me of my dad, and I just broke down in tears saying I miss my dad. And he's as much crap as we've been through together, he was my biggest opponent and my staunchest advocate. Um, he believed in negative reinforcement. You're too fat, ugly, stupid, so prove me wrong. Um, and but he also would defend me to his dying breath. When people come down on me, he would tell them, "Well, my boy will prove you wrong." And
And I think it's tough for a lot of people because they don't realize, and it's tough for us to like break that cycle. But when we were younger, our parents, that's the way you were raised. It wasn't
yep,
with the hooray positivity that we have now. It was pretty much like they told you your fault so you could fix them.
exactly.
This is your problem. You're too fat, you're too slow, you're this, you're that. It wasn't, it sounds negative as all heck, and it is. It is, and I get it, and I understand the psychologies behind it. But it's also one of those reasons why for me, my best motivation to myself is when I'm telling myself that I'm a fat, ugly slob. And
And
everyone's like, what are you
that's
doing? I'm like, I'm reminding myself why I'm here, why I'm at
right.
the gym.
And that gets difficult too because I know the guest I was referring to said something to the effect of "Stop calling yourself stupid," and
Yeah.
she said that right as I said it in the car driving down the road on 990, heading home. Was like, "Mike, stop calling yourself stupid." And then she says it, I'm like, "Yeah, go get some." But
Yeah.
I have the same problem of, okay, moron, what the heck were you thinking,
Yeah.
dummy? And that negative self-talk, is what we do because we were raised with it, and it does
Mm-hmm.
hurt our confidence. It does hurt
It does.
our image of ourselves. But on the flip side of that coin, I've seen too many people think they're all that in a bag of chips.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so
And
good
I mean,
because I'm so
I know
cool.
I'm bad about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Me too.
And I know I'm
So
bad about it. I mean, I'll do it all the time. It's like for a long time, the first time I lost weight, like way back in 2010,
mhm.
I lost a bunch of weight and everything, and I had a picture on my desk of me at that time at my biggest.
Wow.
And everyone's like, why do you still have that picture? You've lost so much weight. I'm like, because every time I decide, because I would go down to the gym at lunch. And I'm like, every time I'm like, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna go to the gym today. I look up and I see that picture and I'm like, that's why I'm going to the gym today.
Hmm.
So I don't do that again. And right now that's one of the problems I'm having. I've gained weight again. I'm not to where I was. I mean,
Hmm.
I'm not where I was before COVID, but I'm not where I want to be. So it's, a matter of getting myself motivated again and get moving,
Absolutely.
and that can be tough.
There was this friend of mine I told you that I ran the super with at Arizona. Um, let's just call her Jay. I won't call her by name, but I met her at SLO, San Luis Obispo, and her and her
Hmm.
boyfriend live in the LA area. And nice lady, a few years younger than me, and very personable, very upbeat. And she used to run Spartans years ago. Well, anyway, we're doing the super together in Arizona. I told her, I said, I'm going to be slow, sister. I'm hurting. I'm going to get it done. But we get to Bender, and um, she gets, and I pull over and take a break for a second, and I see her trying to get up and grab the bottom bar of Bender. I said, well, I should go help her. And she gets some help from a person who gets her up on that bottom bar, and then she starts to climb the backside of Bender, right? And I'm sitting there
Hmm.
going, okay, okay. And she gets to the very top bar of the backside of Bender, and she's stuck. And I'm like, okay, I've got to go help her because she's light enough for me. I can catch her if she falls. And
Yeah.
uh, so I get over there, and she's hanging on for dear life, and this other lady goes, "Get your boobs over, and you'll be fine." I'm like, I'm not even touching that
I've heard
content.
that so many times. Because a
So
lot of, I mean, honestly, women, you get your boobs over, that's the top heavy, and then
exactly, you're fine. And if you're a big enough guy, I guess it's the same problem. But so
I have the same issue.
she gets herself over, and she gets to the very last rung of Bender on the way down, and she's stuck again. And I get over there and I said, sister, just if you got to drop, drop. I will catch you. well, I weigh X amount of weight. And I'm like, okay, you're smaller than me, dude. It's not that hard for me to catch you. Um, and like I can catch your whole body weight and you'll never hit the ground. And anyway, she was able with some direction to get her feet unstuck on that last rung and lower herself down, where she was utterly freaking terrified. I mean, anxiety up the wazoo, said she'd never do that again. I'm like, till the next time. No, I'll never touch it again. And kind of the takeaway from that is when we have these anxiety issues, mental health, depression, whatever, is you've got to be willing to accept the help that's offered you. You got to be willing to ask
Yes.
for it. And a lot of times we don't even ask for it. We just think, oh, we're inconveniencing somebody. We got to the box,
And I
and
think that's another big point
what's that?
is not just asking for it, but accepting it.
Yeah,
Not understanding that by accepting that help does not make me weak. And I think that's the hardest thing for me. I mean, I grew up thinking that if I have to ask for help, that makes me weak.
mm-hmm.
My job in life has always been, I've always been told I'm there to help others,
Yep, same here.
but nobody's supposed to help me. And that's been the way. And I mean, both, and I'm talking both mentally and physically.
Right.
Like mentally and physically, I was always supposed to be one. I'm there to help others, but I don't ask for help. That's not my way. I'm supposed to help you, but nobody helps me. I just deal with it all on my own. And that becomes, and I can see you are a lot in that same way. You don't want to accept help. I've seen it on course,
Do you know
and I've seen it when we've talked.
I've only been over a wall once, like a 8-foot wall,
Yeah.
because I never asked for help. So
And you have problems accepting it as well. So,
do.
and it's the same thing, not just on course mentally, but also, physically and mentally. And I've always been that way. I've always been the one, where you see those posts that say, the person that helps everyone sometimes is the one that needs the most help. And a lot of times, I mean, I really associate with that because there's a lot of times where I am that one. Like if someone needs help, I'm there with them. You talk about Bender. I remember the first time I saw Bender in Montana. We had a friend who was terrified. So I had to climb up Bender behind her.
Wow.
So she was in front. Was reaching around her, holding the bars,
Wow.
keeping her in place the whole time up. And that was the only way she would do it. And I mean, she was terrified. I was terrified too, because I'm like, if she lets go, I got to hold my weight and hers
Mm-hmm.
to keep us both from going off of here,
Mm-hmm.
and we got her up and over. And I mean, it was terrifying, but I mean, it was one of those things that never thought about it. It's like, oh, yeah, someone needs help. I'm there,
Yep. And when you need
and it's
help,
kind of
it's
like
like I don't.
the picture in the background.
Yeah, that's world's
That's
toughest,
world's
isn't it?
toughest matter. Yeah, taking Marla through it, a 78-year-old woman in a wheelchair.
Yep.
I'm there, the whole weekend. I'm just like, everyone's like, what are you gonna do if Marla, takes a break? I take a break. I'm here for Marla. That's it. If she's on course, I'm on course. If she's not on course, I'm here with her.
Yep.
You know, and that's kind of been my mentality forever. And I think that's one of the reasons I started having a problem with stepping away from Spartan, because I stopped being able to race with my friends and I lost my whole purpose.
Right.
If I'm just running by myself, who am I helping?
Well, and in that case, you're helping yourself. I mean, I run a lot of times by myself because I don't have,
Yeah.
unless you happen to be on course or Brother Boggs or, whatever, I don't really have a whole lot of friends to be running with. And a lot of times they move faster than I do anyway. But you're talking about accepting help, Jasmine and I get, her name's Jasmine, but anyway, Jasmine, if you hear this, don't hurt me. But we get to the box, and I said, okay, sister, I know I'm not getting over this because I know my ankles will not take getting on that knot and then pulling myself up. I can't even do a pull up yet. I said, but I'm gonna help you get over it. She goes, well, she goes, okay, great. So she gets herself up onto that first knot, and I just reach in, grab the backside of her leg, and I just kind of yeet her over the box. And
Yeah.
she was absolutely dumbfounded because she's like, dude, like you moved me like I wasn't even there. I'm like, yeah, you don't weigh that much. So she gets to the top of the box and she says, this is equivalent to you doing the obstacle, right? Like, excellent, thank you. But she accepted the help and was able to get over box and wasn't able to do it by herself. I was like, that's kind of what I need to be doing is when I come to that wall, which I have to have help get over the start wall. Because walls, I could pick it up and throw it at you, but I don't have the hops to get over it yet.
No,
But I had one guy at
I love that
Dallas.
answer yet.
There's always a yet. I had one guy at Dallas, and this dude he had just done the ultra. This is like 2018, and he's like 6'2", V cut, muscles coming out of every freaking part of his body. And I get to that wall, and I was like, I think I was only doing the sprint, and I'm like, I'm not getting over that wall. No, dude, come on, man, I got you. He's got the whole lats kicking, and he's like, come on, man, I got you. I'm getting you over that wall. Let's go. Okay. And he picked my 300-pound butt up and just chucked me over the wall like I wasn't even there. And I'm like, oh, thank you. I start bawling. Like, this is the first wall I've been over ever. Ah. And it was a great accomplishment. Now I'm just too scared to ask for help to get over walls, except for the start wall. But because people look at me and in general like you're a little big to be going over that wall. Like, yeah, I know that. But
You race with me, I'll get you over every damn wall out there.
appreciate it, and vice versa.
So what I'm saying is, December 2nd,
I'll be there.
for my birthday, you're gonna just run the beast with me, and we're going over everything.
That'll work. That'll work. This is my treat. Am I buying you dinner for your birthday on the second? But
I don't know.
well, it depends on where you're staying. I'll be staying in Sebring. So, um,
I don't know. I'm somewhere with Brother Boggs, but
okay. Well, I'll have to sync up with you guys. But even the Florida race bugs the frick out of me because the last beast I did there, there's so much swamp and so much, just water we had to go through. It's like, am I gonna quit? Am I gonna quit? No, I'm not gonna quit.
no.
I had on that quitting part when I got back from Boston, and I will not name this person by name because it could get me in trouble. But there was a person at the gym who I was talking to a friend of mine who works there and telling her about the race and about the trip and all that. And she's like, "Oh, that's cool." Brought her back a sticker, and she thought, whenever I go anywhere, she's like like a little sister to me. She's like, "Bring me back a sticker." Like, okay, here's a sticker. um, so I brought I even got one from. I don't know if you can see this or not, but I've got one from the other market at Pittsfield, Vermont, just outside Joe's farm. So it's the other
Oh,
general
nice.
store that he doesn't own. But it's like, I'm not going to your store. I'm going to the other one. Anyway,
Yeah, of course.
the guy, he's talking to me, and I know he probably meant well in his own head, but it just made me angry. He comes up, he puts his hand on my shoulder. Dave, as a friend, Dave, do you even have endurance? Excuse me? And he's talking to the person behind the counter and says, doesn't he look like he wouldn't have endurance, but I look like I would? And I'm like, I just finished my 71st Spartan race. You want to try
Yeah.
again? I just finished my almost 100th obstacle course race. You want to try again? When you want to pony up the dough and come to Spartan with me, we can have that discussion, son. Until then, shut your pie hole. And it was just, it's this kind of the stuff I put up with my entire life. You're not attractive, but hey, you can move my furniture. You don't have endurance, but hey, you don't look like you have endurance, but because you look like a giant fat kid, but you're strong as an ox, that kind of thing.
But I'll
And
be honest, it's usually the one thing I found. It's usually the big guys that have the most endurance. It's the skinny guys
oh God,
who don't
yeah,
have the endurance, or the muscle bound guys, because they go in the gym and they lift like crazy. But you tell them, okay, cool, you've been lifting forever. Let's go run, or let's go walk for 15 miles. And they're like,
15 miles.
15?
What's that mean?
Yeah.
What
Yeah,
do you
my
guys?
buddy Brian had that where a guy was like just total power lifter, like, oh, I could definitely do your workouts. And he had him do like one of the like battle miles workouts that we do. And Brian's in the middle
I
of
know,
it,
Brian. No, you can't.
like 10 or 15 minutes into it. The guy's like falling on his face, dying, like, what the hell is this? It's like it's called endurance and cardio.
Well,
Try it.
I had a kid in my youth group who says, "Oh, Dave, your workouts are too easy." I'm like, okay, you little snot rocket. And this guy was like a 3A champion wrestler, football player, whatever. And
Mhm.
we took him to the gym. I said, okay. And I got this app called Fitbod that randomizes your workouts, takes your goals and builds your workout every day. And I said, okay, brand new workout. from scratch, all the muscle groups in the body. Give me 3 exercises, and we were there for 3 hours, 2.5. And I beat this kid to snot. I said, "You're going to do my lifts, you're going to do my weight, and we're going to do 3 exercises for every group of the body." By the time we were done, this kid was 17 at the time. By the time we were done, this kid was walking out that gym, his knuckles dragging the ground. He couldn't lift his arms. I said, you really want to push me again and say my stuff's too easy?" Okay.
Well, we'll show you. And I think what it is because everyone, and it's one of those things I've noticed a lot lately, especially on Facebook. If you don't do things the way I do, they're wrong. And it's like, no, we're all different. We all have, like
Sure.
we mentioned in the very beginning, we have different ways of dealing with mental stress. We have different ways of dealing with physical stress. And sometimes we deal with them together.
Mhm.
And people don't see that. They see you, and it's kind of one of those things too. Sometimes it's perception too, because it's kind of one. I remember a post you made a little while back that said something about, people call you big guy, and it's a problem. And it was one of those things. I never thought about it till you said it, but when people called me big guy, I just kind of thought it like, boss, because I'll call people boss sometimes or something like that or whatever. That's the way I attribute it. And then it's like, have they been calling me
Oh.
fat the whole time?
Mhm.
Have they been calling me fat? Is that why they were calling me big guy? And I just never thought of it that way. I just never put that into it. So I'm going to continue to think it's boss or something like that, just to put a
Well, sure.
positive spin on it. So, but it's one of those things that sometimes you don't understand sometimes what people really mean. And sometimes, something like that where they come up to you and it's like people don't realize when they assume something about you, it can be hurtful. They assume, oh, you have no stamina because you're a bigger guy. And like I said, I've watched Boggs walk 50
Mhm.
miles
And Boggs is a
and
bigger dude.
he's a
Yeah.
bigger guy and just keep going
Yeah.
and going and going. Cause I'll be honest, I've never hit 50 miles in one shot. The closest
I've
I've come is 44.
not done 50 miles either. I'd probably die.
Because when Don hit the 50, I was with him, and at 42, my hip basically just gave out,
Hmm.
and I was done. I could barely walk. I like hobbled back to the house, for the last like 4 miles of that 42. So there was no, I wasn't able to finish the 50, but I've never gotten the 50,
Right.
and he's done it at least once, I think maybe twice, and I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, you just got to keep moving. And I think
Hmm.
in a lot of ways, that's more impressive to me than someone who can run a 2.5 hour, like, half marathon or a
Hmm.
marathon even. I mean,
Absolutely.
it takes a lot of work to be able to do that fast on a marathon. But at the same time, you take that same person and say, okay, go out there and move for 9 hours.
Hmm. Wait, what?
What? Wait, what? 9 hours? I mean, my first marathon was 9.5 hours.
Hmm. That's wow.
My second one was 8.
Wow.
I shaved an hour and a half. Woohoo! My very last one that I did, the last one that I did was 4:39, but
Dang.
it was straight downhill, and that's when I was 180 pounds. You
Right.
know, I mean, but the one thing is, every single one of those was 26.2 miles.
Hmm.
Actually, wait, no, I did one after that. I did a 5:30, I think, on my last one. But still, every one of those 26 miles, whether it was a 9.5 hours or 4.39 hours, 4 hours and 39 minutes, still 26 miles. And a lot of people they forget that. And like I said, I see something if you went out there like me, did a marathon, even if it took you 8, 9, 10 hours, you
Most of my
still went
beast,
26.2 miles and you spent that time out there
most of my beast take me
moving.
that long, honestly.
But
But
you
it's
spent that whole time moving and
mhm,
going, and that to me is a lot more impressive
appreciate that. The
because the mental grit, the physical grit, you have to put so much more into that because now you have 9, 10 hours in your head
mhm,
on that course, moving. And I have yet to see one time with you on that course where you weren't being positive to everyone around you
trying to
and you
be.
weren't being an inspiration to everyone
Appreciate
around you.
that.
You
There
know,
was You ever heard of a guy named Joe Forney?
Yeah.
So Joe, he sings like the national anthems at most of the races he goes to, and always a pleasure to see him. Well, we were we actually did a rendition of "You've Lost That Love and Feeling" and "Leave It on a Jet Plane" in the festival area at Spartan at the Super at Arizona, and it
Nice.
was and people were just so like, "Dude, that's awesome!" And I said, "Joe, you be in Florida?" Like, yeah, I'm gonna show up early and see the anthem with you. Okay, be there. Cool. Um, but I had a couple of guys, couple two, three folks at the Super, I think it was. Like, because I'll stop and take a break. If I gotta stop and sit down for a
Yeah.
minute, I'm gonna stop and sit down for a minute. I'll keep moving, but if I gotta spend 5, 10 minutes there, that's what I gotta do. And
Which happens.
yeah, because I'm not moving for 8 hours straight or 10 hours straight. That just sucks. I'll get there, but a couple of these guys like, dude, you know, I saw you here yesterday. Uh-huh. Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, you too, man. Cool, peace. And they were just dumbfounded that I was there the next day. Or hey, I saw you on course yesterday. Where are you from? And they'd ask me. And then one person's like, hey, you're calling that OCR. Like, yeah. Like, oh my God, I'm infamous now. But
You are
um,
infamous.
I'm getting there. But the like the guy I started this stuff with, you know, and I God bless him. I love what he the motivation he gave me. But that was the thing he always told me was even if you got to stop and take a break, keep moving. Even if you walk, crawl, run, whatever, get across that finish line. Do the best you can to get across that
Hmm.
finish line. And so shout out to my brother Brent, the fallible man. Um, it was do what you got to do. If you DNF, you DNF. I mean, but you give it all in the course. You live it all out
You
there.
keep going.
Um,
It's like I always my motto, and I've had this for a while. Everyone knows that I got from Jesse, Jesse,
mhm.
um, OCR, whatever.
Yep.
But he always forward.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
simple. It's 2 words, but always forward. You're always moving forward.
Well, when you see a guy like Paula Chance out there, or Marla, or
Yeah.
whoever that are in their 80s and they're out there doing the best they can, they may not do every obstacle. Then you see a guy like Joe Forney, who I think Joe's in his 60s or 70s, and he's running multiple laps of a sprint just for
Mhm.
fun. And you're like, okay, I have no friggin' excuse.
No.
I'm not old. I got to keep moving.
I mean, or you see people like Casey who has no legs
Oh yeah,
out
totally.
there going for it. It's like I've used this story multiple times with Casey where it was like
Oh, that guy.
the very first time I saw him, I'm doing like, the Seattle like beast or something. And I was bigger than I am now. And I was
Mhm.
wrecked. And I'm like, this is stupid. I'm done. Screw this.
Sounds like
I'm
my first
out.
time doing the beast.
Like this was the dumbest idea I've ever had. There's no way I can do this. I'm not in good enough shape. And I
Mhm.
walk around the corner and there's Casey, no legs, just going. And I'm like,
I got nothing.
well, I got nothing. Nothing. All right. Guess we're doing this. And off I
Yep.
go. And I mean, it was just like, it's one of those things, and it sounds stupid to say it, but it was just like, you get in your head of like, I can't do this. And then you see someone else out there who is taking every obstacle that's thrown at them and said, screw it, I'm doing it anyway.
Well, I had
And that's where you are. I mean, it's one of those things where, people look at you and they're like, you do what? And they do the same with me,
exactly.
even at the size I am now. What, you do Spartan races? I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
I did World's Toughest Mudder a couple weekends ago with Marla and did 30 miles,
Be lucky if I got 5 miles out of that thing.
carrying a
But
flag for most of it.
uh-huh.
I would, this is the one thing I would say. I could see you at World's Toughest, but this is what I would see. You would be one of the wall guys, either
Well,
the
okay.
wall or Mudderhorn. They're these guys who are godsends,
Oh, they're throwing it over the
amazing
wall.
people. They basically do one lap and that's
Uh-huh.
it through the whole freaking 24 hours. They stop at Mudderhorn and then some of them stop at Everest
Uh-huh.
and just sit at the top or sit at the bottom, either one, and help people get up and over.
See, I'd be okay with that. I'd be
And that's
totally
all
okay
they
with
do
that.
all night long. They don't do
Wow.
any laps. They just sit there all night. And at Everest, you come up and you jump and they catch you and they pull you up
Yeah.
and over. And that's where they are all night. And I'm like, these people are angels.
Oh, that's something I didn't know you could do that. I just got to complete one lap. That might be something to consider for next year.
I mean,
Going back to the
it's amazing.
going back to the Casey thing, the first time I met Casey was Portland Sprint 2017, and I'm sick the morning of. I'm ready to quit. And telling my buddy I can't do this. My buddy's like, "We just drove 300 miles. Get your butt out here and let's go." And I'm maybe 2.5 miles into it. I'm ready to puke, and I'm like, "Dude, I gotta stop. I gotta stop. I gotta stop." And I feel this tap in the back of my leg, and I hear this, "Come on, brother, let's get this done." And I look down, it's Casey. I'm like, I got nothing. Okay, time to go. And we helped him up some
Yeah.
obstacles. The next year, we're on the Super, I think it was in Seattle. And I go marching along and I see they had the like one little mud hill that kind of switchbacks back and forth until you get up there to where
Mhm.
like the like hurdles and stuff would be. Like, whose brilliant freaking idea was to put this here? And I'm just being funny. I hear this, "Hey Dave," and it's Casey. And I'm like, "Hey Case,
Mhm.
what's up, dog?" He is towing his chair up the hill with a rope behind him attached to the chair, manning that thing up the hill. And I'm like, I got nothing. And he gets up
Yep.
to about the 3/4 point and asks for help finally. So they help him get his chair up. And then his buddy, who goes by the code name Arm Solo, he's amputee, like one of his arms from the elbow down. And Jeremy, he turns around, looks at me, and goes, "Hey, Dave, need a hand?" And everybody in the course is looking at me like, "What's Dave gonna say?" And I looked up at him and said, "I'll take any hand you got, brother, but only one." And it was the greatest thing. Is people are like, I'm not sure if that was insensitive or so, but it was a
Mhm.
good time because I mean, it's like they're out there and they're out there with those things that would cripple a lot of folk, and they're like, "No, I'm gonna do this anyway. Screw it, I'm done.
Yeah.
Let's make it happen."
And that's what I love about Spartan and a lot of this. And that's one of the things, like, somebody, I've told a couple people this. I was pretty much done.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was gonna keep doing the podcast, stuff like that. I mean, you've heard some of the episodes. I'm done. I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. I wasn't enjoying it. It was no fun to me. It's just I lost all joy in
Yeah.
doing Spartan, pretty much all of them. The last 2 weekends doing it with Marla and More Heart Than Scars brought all that back.
Yep.
It reminded me of why I started doing this. It's not so I can hit a podium. It's not so I can be the strongest person out there. It's not so I can be the fastest person out there. It's not so I can be the best person out there. It's so that I can make sure that somebody who would never have done this
Mm-hmm.
and would not have finished and would not have got that medal, if I can make one person on that race course finish and help
Mm-hmm.
them, then I'm good.
Yep.
And that's the thing. And I lost it for a bit there, because I can remember, I think it was Vegas like 4 or 5 years ago, and it was with, my the three amigos. It was me, Serena, and Justin, the three amigos, which that was one where I have the great video of us doing the three amigo thing right before we went over the fire jump. But but we had this goal. We were gonna finish in this amount of time. We were gonna make it. We were probably about a mile from finishing the super, maybe probably 2 miles from finishing the super. And we came across this lady that was just struggling.
Mm.
And she was having some issues. And we're sitting there, and all three of us, without saying a word, just turned around, helped her, and we stuck with her for the rest of that race.
Yep.
And did we hit our time goal? Not a chance in hell. Did we care? Not a
Not a
bit.
chance of it.
Because we made sure that she finished, because she was done.
Yep.
She was going to quit. And we're like, nope, no. That's not even an option, ma'am. You're coming with us. Let's do this. And we
Yep.
got her through. And I mean, that's what I miss. And for me, that helps my mental health. At the same time, though, like I said, both of us need to work on asking for help.
Yep. I agree. If we can get the reason I started Common Man OCR was if I can get one person off the couch, it's a win. If I can get one person to do hard stuff, whether it's a 5K, where they come do a mutter or whatnot with me, whatever, it's a win. Um,
Mhm.
and I go back to the story of Fayetteville, 2018, I think it was. And I was out there and I was ready to. I had a migraine the morning of, had a spoonful of nasty eggs at the hotel, etc. Almost quit doing the super. I was the last heat of the day of the super, and this guy Woody Peters met me at the bucket carry. This was before they changed the rules, so I had the bucket on my shoulder, He goes, you can't carry it like that. I'm like, well, who the heck are you? I'm Woody Peters. I'm the or I'm the course manager. I'm like, oh crap. Him and the course sweep. You're slow when the course sweep is behind you. The course sweep, Duff
I've
Pauls
been
have
there.
become two of my greatest friends. They stuck with me the whole rest of that race, and they made dang sure that I crossed that finish line. And we get to the
I
A
had that with
frame.
Hammond once.
Yep. And Hammond, I love that. I love him too. But Woody, he turns to me and says, okay, Dave, you gonna go up the A frame? I'm like, well, yeah, it's kind of right in the way. I kind of have to go up the A frame. So, and the second I like, I'm at least gonna get this one done. And he taught me how to throw the spear correctly because I didn't know how to do that right. And I
Mhm.
stuck it, which was epic. But I get to the A frame and all the volunteers and all the employees start coming out, know me from Adam. And uh,
Mhm.
I get to the other side of A frame. There was no fire jump at the time because it was in North Carolina. And I looked at the finish line. I'm like, oh, screw it. And I just, every ounce of energy I had left, get across that finish line. Um, and Woody has commented in recent years about, hey, I've seen your progress, and yeah, you're not where you want to be, but you're doing better. And always been an encouragement, always
Mhm.
been somebody that had my back. But like we said about accepting help and offering help, you know, I could have told him to bug off, leave me alone. But I was grateful for somebody to sit there and go, no, you got this. Let's keep going. Um, and just pushing me along to get the job done. And that
Mhm.
was that was probably the greatest race I think I've ever done was when Woody and Duff, encouraged me to cross that finish line. But yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Both of us do need to get better at accepting help. And I'll
Mhm.
just make this announcement now. When we go to Central Florida in a couple of weeks, I will graciously accept the help to get over those walls and give it the stuff that I can't get over. I'll at least give it a shot instead of walking around
We're
it.
going
And
for it.
okay, there's
We're
there's
doing
some
it.
that are there's some that are going to be, like I will struggle with the inverted wall. I'll struggle with the box. The walls, I'm not too, if I have help, I'm not too worried about that. But I really wish they'd get rid of Armageddon. I think that thing is so stupid. Um,
You help me, I'll help you.
that's what we got. That's what we do. So, listeners, you heard it here first. Pretty Mike and Common Man OCR, Iron Dave, we're gonna help each other out, and we're gonna
Yeah.
see how many people we can throw over things. Um,
Yes, that's the way to do it. One thing is, it's funny. I used to cheat on or not really cheat isn't the right word, on the bucket. I never carried it on my shoulder,
you
but I
carried it
carried it on
here,
my bicep.
here.
No, I would throw it up and put it here on my bicep. So it
Eh,
wasn't on my shoulder. And I had multiple times where they were all because I would tilt my arm down. So it wasn't sitting on my shoulder, it was sitting on the crook of my arm and the bicep.
they told you to carry it in front of you, Mike.
They just said not on your shoulders.
That's
So I
true.
used to do that all the time. I would carry it on my bicep. And I would have all
Well,
times and people would be like, you can't do that. And I'm like, you said not on my shoulder, it's on my bicep. Because in front of me, my lower back
oh yeah, your lower
would
back's
start
toast.
screaming.
Oh
So
yeah.
it felt a lot better for me to just be up on my bicep.
You remember the days where you had to fill the bucket?
Yep.
Yeah, that was
Then you couldn't do that because it was, yeah.
those were great days. You're like, great. If it wasn't up to if there was any light coming through the
Yep.
holes, you had to dump the bucket out and do it over. It's like, oh, that
Mm-hmm.
sucks. But people complain about the bucket nowadays. I'm like, let me tell you a story.
Yeah.
It used to
Let me
be
tell you,
we
you would go through, you'd fill it up, you'd walk around, and they look at you and say, I can see light. Redo it.
do it
And you'd
again.
have to put more rocks in it and go do it in a lap until they were okay with how it was.
Yep. And they've kind of I mean, so they can standardize it. I get that, but but the I was having a discussion with a person at Spartan at Arizona, and the kind of, and I'm not dissing Joe DeSena at all. I know he means well, but sometimes the way he comes off is a lot like the way people come off my entire life. You're fat and ugly. He's
Yeah.
never said that. He's never alluded to that, but he does know that I need help. We all need help to get to
Mhm.
where we want to be. But I've listened to his podcasts and well, if you just go plant based, if you just do this, if you just go out and work out 4 hours a day and hike 20 miles a day, you're gonna lose the weight and be V cut and everything else. At least that's what the takeaway I have. And it's like, no, that's really not going to apply to everybody, but okay.
No.
So this girl and I were having this chat, and she was there working the event, and a bigger gal, and she's in the Spartan Plus area. Well, anyway, she goes, well, yeah, I know Joe, and he does come off like that. He does mean well. I'm like, yeah, I get that. She goes, but I've done 39 Spartan races and never had a problem. And he's kind of alluded to me being a bigger person. Like, okay, that sucks, but she goes, no, I know he doesn't mean anything by it. Well, I look her up online, and she starts to follow Common Man, and she is a powerlifting champion. Not only is she a powerlifting champion, she's a 24-time powerlifting champion. And I'm like,
Just a few times.
holy crap! Like, if anybody alluded to you not being in shape, stupid. Like, oh my gosh.
Like this lady could bench press you.
Yeah, she could throw you over the wall, the box, and the beater at the same time. So
She could just start at the start line and just chuck you to the finish line.
exactly. So I'm sitting there I'm reading her bio, and I'm like, holy dang. Okay, that's cool. But she's very in defense of Joe, and again, I'm not dissing him at all. But that's what a lot of folks, where Joe actually has data and like know how to help people in that regard. Like this guy I told you about at the gym, who doesn't have that data, who doesn't have that know-how.
No.
Do you even have endurance? I mean, he was being negative. Joe's being positive, but it comes off negative sometimes. That does wear on your mental health because you're like, well, maybe I am just a fat bastard. But oh well. I saw people
Oh,
all
well.
different sizes doing it. And
It doesn't, and that's the thing that you got to remember. It doesn't matter how big you are, you still get up every day and you do it. And you're out there where most people aren't. Most people are sitting on their couch who are half your size, half my size, sitting on the couch making up excuses that they can't go out and do this. You stop making excuses and you just go do it.
I've got a couch I bought here last year. I don't think I've ever sat on it. Ever.
I just got a new couch and the cats just use it. It's just a cat fur thing now. But
Exactly.
yeah. And right next to the couch is my trainer where I can get on my bike and ride my bike while I watch TV.
Nice. I've actually got a bike desk I need to start using more. I'm looking at it right now. It's got a platform on it to hook the computer up to. And I need to just use that. I need to bring it over here and use it for work because I got my 3 monitors. I'm using my personal laptop right now. But I need to bring it over here and just set it.
Those will make some fun videos.
Just so I can bike while I'm
pedaling away.
Well, exactly. Dave, why are you doing this during a meeting? I'm pedaling. Leave me alone. But one thing that
leave me alone.
You guys brought up in this your previous guest that I was listening to on the way home. As a man, we were trained, at least in our generation, we were trained to not worry about our feelings, not worry about we were just trained to get up, get our job done, go home, eat dinner, go to bed. And I'm here to say that's if you don't take care of your mental health in some way, shape, or form, it's going to come back to bite you. And for those listeners that believe in Jesus and Scripture, I'm a Christian. I'm a youth minister, volunteer youth minister. But and you can go find the reference yourself. But the disciples come to Jesus. They say, "What's the greatest commandment?" And he says, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength." And the second is like it: love your neighbor as yourself. And if you look it up in the Greek, it's like, love your neighbor as yourself. Okay, it doesn't just say love your neighbor. It says love your neighbor as yourself. So basically, if you don't love yourself, you can't love anybody else. It's like, okay, and it's taken me years to deal with that. And it honestly took my dad passing away and seeing how much he got used, how much he abused his mental health, and his physical health just to help other people. And it's like, sometimes you have to say no. Sometimes you have to be willing to say, I'm not going to go do that because I need to go do this. I run a youth rally for the churches up here in the Northwest. And I had a gentleman call me and say, "Hey, we got this youth rally coming up on November 11th. We want you to bring kids to it." And I had to push back and say, "No." "Well, why not? Why can't you come?" "Because I'll be on the other side of the country." "Why?" And God bless him, he means well. Don't get me wrong. But I said, I'm scheduled to run a Spartan race. Actually, I'm scheduled to run 2 of them now over in Boston. So while you guys are at your youth rally, I'll be in Boston. And he said he understood, but he was alluding to the idea of me canceling those plans just so I could go do this other event. I'm like, no, this helps me. I'm going to go help myself for a little bit for a weekend, so I can get out of my own head. These kids have parents. I will happily let them know what's going on, and they can take their kids if they choose. But as for me personally, I'm going to go do this, and I'll see you guys when I get home.
Yeah.
And it's too many times, I think people get this in their minds. Well, you've always done this, or you've always done that, or you've always been the one who will go to the bar and drink heavily, or you've been always the one who will go eat with us or eat crap food with us. And when you step back and say, no, for my life and my mental health, my physical well-being, I'm going to not do some things. And I'm going to say no.
Mhm.
They tend not to know what to do. And
No, they don't.
like, okay, sorry, I'm not going to go do that anymore. And
No.
Oh, well, but
You got to take care of you.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line. So, but I mean, as always, it's amazing talking to you. We have such a
Me
we
too.
need to do this more often. But
Thanks for listening to the BeastNet podcast. If you haven't done it yet, find us on Facebook, like and share the podcast. Give us a review on iTunes or Spotify. All these things will help to expand the show in the future. Don't forget to subscribe and let us know what you think and what you'd like to hear.